Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about how to find happiness. I'm delighted to welcome special guest, Indra Rinzler. Indra is an astrologer, spiritual guide, teacher, and world traveler. You can contact Indra on his website, indrarinzler.com, and I'll include a link in the description. Welcome, Indra. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to be learning from you. And we had a little conversation before we got started recording where you said, I'm excited to be learning from me too. And I thought that was so clever because, we take ourselves with us wherever we go, and we can learn from other people and we can learn from ourselves. And that is awesome. So I was wondering, I know you're a traveler, you've been everywhere, and I don't know if everywhere, but you've been to India a lot, you've been to lots of different places.
56 countries.
56 countries. Oh, I am ready for some stories. All right. So tell me about you. What brought you to where you are now and through 56 countries and back to your house?
Yeah, I don't know what brought me. I mean, a lot of planes. I remember one trip I had 17 up and down, 17 plane trips up and down in a 4-month trip.
What is up and down?
Like a leg.
You had
like
one trip that took 17 legs one way
in 4 months.
In 4 months. Oh, I was thinking, where on earth? Where were you going?
Yeah, no. In the course of in the course of 4 months, I might have 22 different beds. I had 17 different. I remember 17 different legs. I don't know how many beds, but I mean, when you think about it, all the meals and the different cities and how many. I remember one time I left Thailand, and I walked, and then I got a motorcycle ride, and then I got to the boat ride, and then I took a taxi then I walked to the bus to get to the airport, to then take a flight, to then take another flight to get where I was going. I think that was the time I left Thailand to go to Australia.
From Thailand to Australia. Okay, so now I got to ask, you're doing all of this traveling. Is this for work, for pleasure? I mean, what's taking you everywhere?
Well, the first long trip was pleasure, but what happened at the end was that I met a man who was doing importing of handicrafts into America, and I knew about 80% of that, and I sold his stuff the first year. He taught me the other 20%, and it became a career. And so the traveling became both business and pleasure. And I liked to go traveling and learning about places through marketplaces, that you can go through museums, you can go through touring, you can go through 5-star hotels in marble, but I did it through marketplaces. I did other things when I was in places, but you'd go to the marketplace, and I'd find wholesale places. I was buying handicrafts in quote unquote third world countries where they actually make them and they're cheap, and bringing them back here to sell. And so that's the way that I would begin exploring a country, is through their marketplaces.
Wow. Okay. So if I'm entering a country and I'm going to the marketplace, and this is how I am experiencing the country, this is my first taste. What kinds of things can you tell from the marketplace, as far as what the people are like and what the culture is and what you're going to find and that sort of thing?
Well, first of all, you start with a heck of a Lonely Planet collection, because that's where I found out about a lot of marketplaces. I didn't find them. You can Google them, and you can find some of this stuff in the internet. But when I started in '99, I would buy Lonely Planets, and they'd tell me where the marketplaces are. So one of the interesting things that I would learn is that the places that were sophisticated with wholesale And I don't think I have to wholesale, being I would buy them at a deep discount so that then I could then mark them up to sell them wholesale here. But I wouldn't buy them at retail, what they would call retail there, because that would be too high a price. So I'd have to go discount. But the most of the countries were pretty sophisticated, and I learned that I was not the first to do anything that I was doing. But there were countries, particularly I remember Cambodia, where they'd say discount. I'd say discount, for many, and they'd say instead of 100, they'd say 95, and I'd say no, discount. And so the thing was that they didn't really understand wholesaling. That they understood discount, that you would knock a little bit off for retail, but I was talking about many for a deep discount, and it's either in your culture or it isn't. And it isn't that it won't get there, but it didn't get there yet. When I was in Cambodia in, say, 2003, 2005, 2006, it wasn't there then. And so there were countries where you had to have a certain amount of sophistication, and in many places it was rather sophisticated for Western travelers buying handicrafts, and in other places it wasn't so much. They didn't really have a marketplace, and they didn't have things could be so cheap that you could buy them and bring them back, but they weren't this regulated sophistication, and so that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting. So I'm wondering, what kinds of crafts are you picking up in Cambodia? What kinds of things?
uh Cambodia made things in with bamboo, and they had these hanging bird things with bamboo that I remember buying a few of those. I mean, it was so long ago, I can't remember, but I bought a lot of jewelry. I bought spiritual items. I bought things that were handmade because they have energy to them. I bought singing bowls in Nepal, and I bought malas in India, and scarves, and I bought hemp stuff. I bought sarongs in Bali, and statuary, and anything. I went anywhere and bought everything that I thought would be interesting to people, because we had a store in the 80s, and actually it was sort of the reason I picked up on this so quickly is that it was a samskar. It was an energy that I already had within me that I wanted to tap into, and so instead of doing retail again, I ended up selling wholesale to the stores that were stores like that I used to, that was like my store.
That sounds really fun. So if you're someone who loves to travel and then turn that into a business and you still love it, and then you get to meet all these people, I'm curious, how many languages do you speak?
So I speak I speak two languages, English and money, and those are spoken everywhere. English and dollars; those languages are spoken everywhere. Linda, you're getting me.
I'm
You're taking
halfway there. I speak English, so
so you're there. So you're taking me back to all my old lines. Yeah, I used to speak. People would ask me that the English and dollars, they're spoken everywhere. That the marketplace couldn't exist if they didn't speak English. If they only spoke their native language, it didn't work for them. They learned that
that's
very
right. You're going
easily.
into these really niche places, these little secret hideaways. So
Well,
none of
yeah.
those.
So you go talk about getting off the track of what you wanted to talk about. So so the thing was that the niches didn't the really small niches, if you go up to the village and you buy from the ladies that weave it, they don't understand wholesale, and so you want to buy in the marketplace because you want to have a quality control guy. You want to have somebody you want to have it so that it's you can do it again. I can't think of the word right now, but it's repeatable. You want to have an experience that if it's good, you want a guy in the marketplace who you can email, who will send it to you, that you can trust. You don't want to go to the village because they think that their stuff was worth much more than I mean, it's worth what they're asking, but you can't sell it at what they're asking. And so you want to go to the marketplace where they understand this concept of business and wholesale, and then they take care of you. Because many people, I don't know how many people, especially at the beginning, said, basically, I wouldn't screw you because I want your repeat business.
Right. And I think that's so important to recognize that when we are fair and it's a win-win, then it is repeatable. And that's what we
Yeah.
want in any kind of business situation. It's not, oh, what can I get for this? And how can I cheat him out of whatever? Because that's not going to go over very well. It's
Yeah.
how let's make this a way so that it helps me and it helps you. It increases your business. It lets people from around the world have something that is beautiful and unique. So well done. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a total win-win because the people are happy getting your dollars. I traded dollars for goods, and then I came over here and traded goods for dollars, and they were more than I originally started with. So it was a win-win because the store owners loved having, they didn't have to go anywhere. And I was going to say before that there were a few trends that I knew the store it started in. And I knew the year and a half or 2 years that it got from a jewelry store in Bali to the gift show markets, 2 or 3 years for this stuff, for this particular good, and for this particular style of creativity to become popular enough. And I would buy it from the store that created it or that first had it. And I watched trends develop over years, like the a lot of the evil eye stuff. I went to Turkey around, I don't know, 2005, maybe 2006, and I saw Evil Eye and Fatima's hand, the hand thing that's like all over now. I brought it back in like 2005, 2006, and nobody else was bringing. There was a guy, a guy in Brooklyn who was bringing it in, but not selling it into the markets that I was selling it to.
So you're a trendsetter. That's what you're telling me, huh?
Yes, and well, I don't know about trendsetter, but I knew enough to be ahead of the curve. And the guy, I walked into a store in Turkey. I'd never been to Turkey. I don't know. You're getting me going. I hope this is okay. But I stayed. I stayed. So I stayed in Istanbul. What a lovely city that is. What an exciting city Istanbul is. It's got a bridge. One side is Europe, and the other side is Asia. And so I stayed and I found online a place to stay. And where I stayed, around the corner, was the jail that the Midnight Express. Do you remember the movie from the 70s? It was 1970, and the guy was arrested and he was in a prison. And so the prison he was in is now a 5-star hotel, and it was around the corner from where I stayed in this gentrified area. And so so I got up the next morning, or maybe I dropped my stuff off and I went outside. And the first store I went into, and I said, hi. And this guy said to me, hi. And I said, well, you're enthusiastic. And he said, what else can I be, And so we became buddies. And I was the first one to teach him about shipping stuff back to America or all over the world. And when I went back to him later, he did this for everybody. That if they were retail and they bought something big and they wanted it shipped, he knew how to ship it. And when I went back to him, he knew the ins and outs of shipping, but he had never shipped before. I said, hey, help me to ship. And he took me down to, I think it was a UPS. It could have been a mail service. And he helped me figure it out so that he could figure it out. So that became one of his things, that he was shipping everywhere for clients, and started his whole a whole thing for him that he hadn't done before. And I'd had that experience a few times,
That is
that kind of an experience.
beautiful, where you were able to help each other out and make it better for both. Love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the it's a when it like you say, when it works well, it's a win-win for everybody. It's not about taking advantage. It's about using it's about sharing what skills you have. You're stuck in the desert and you pull in your you go in your pockets and you see what do you got, and then if you're somebody with somebody, you say, okay, this is what we got. What are we? How are we going to make this work? And so, yeah, I had many experiences. There was a guy in Vietnam who was shipping and was in the shipping. I met him as shipping, but he was doing um, kind of big shipping kinds of things. And he ended up figuring out a way to they didn't have at the time in Vietnam, I believe they didn't have courier, FedEx and
Oh,
UPS. And he figured out a way to consolidate shipments on a plane to get it to like Singapore, which isn't that far away. And then it would get picked up by a courier and brought to the US and all over the world. And so he made it available. Um, he made it available courier within Vietnam. This was maybe 2002 or something like that. And he had never done this before. He had never thought in terms of courier. He had only done big boat shipping, and he had never gotten into air. Maybe he had gotten into air cargo, but not very much. But he created this whole system of shipping it by air cargo to a place where they could then centralize it and put it into the courier system.
isn't that crazy? What a wonderful thing. We have such a small world now where we can connect. And the more and more you figure out ways to connect, it's beautiful. It's lovely.
So in those countries, I learned that even though you needed a passport to go from border to border, the fact was is that the people were the same everywhere. They didn't really like their government. They were the same people with relatively the same problems, even if they're on a different scale. The concerns, kids, health, education, making a living, taking care of family. They had the same concerns everywhere, even if there may be, you know, uh, economies of scale in between of what's a big, what's their issue versus the kinds of issues we have in this country. But the nature of it was the same everywhere. And I remember one morning standing in Nepal, it could have been anywhere, but I remember in Nepal, and this woman is sweeping the front outside of her house, which is of course all dirt, and she's sweeping it and cleaning it. And I thought, well, that's really what governments are about, is to give her the ability and the right and the a road, a broom, to be able that she can go outside her house and sweep it, even though she's only moving dirt around. The fact that it was so pleasing and natural, it was so natural what she was doing, that it made me think that this is the real purpose of government and organization, and helping people to be able to live their lives.
That's wonderful. And I love as you talk about how we are the same. I mean, we're different and we're the same. And there's more same than different. It doesn't matter our gender or the color of our skin or the language that we speak or the circumstances and surroundings. That human nature, we have some very similar commonalities. And you are
Absolutely.
amazing at you would know the secret of life or something like that, or how to find happiness or something. So will you be our guru today? We'll climb to the top of the mount and and learn from you.
uh, Thank you so much.
So what do you think? What is happiness? If we can find, if this beautiful woman in Nepal who's sweeping her dirt porch, how does she find happiness? And how about you and me? What if we have this beautiful commonality? What do you think gives us that direction?
Well, it isn't achievements. I mean, they can bring us joy for a little while, but then they leave. And then there was a survey done many years ago, and it said, um, how much income do you want to make? How much income would be your perfect income and make you happy? And no matter what their income was, everybody said 10% more.
Fascinating. So across the board, everybody wanted 10% more than they were making?
That's right. No matter what their income level was, everybody wanted to make a little bit more. That's what this survey said. And so you're left with, I remember, I don't remember when, but I remember getting to a point 20 or 25 or 30 years ago that I wanted to find happiness and peace that was lasting, that there were things that intimacy is good for a while, and then you kind of need to recharge, and you're hungry, and then you eat, and then you forget about it, and then you get hungry again, and then your achievements, you're on 10 podcasts, or and then you're on 20 podcasts, or you've got a 50 episodes or 100 episodes, and it's like, there's always another hill to climb, and so that isn't it. So the question is, well, what is it? And so what it is it's more, it's the inner happiness that you're looking for. It's the happiness that doesn't leave. And so what's the happiness that doesn't leave? That's learning to live in the moment, to be in the moment. And in the moment, it doesn't matter what you have, or doesn't matter what you don't have, and it doesn't matter what you've done, and it doesn't matter what you haven't done, and it doesn't matter anything, but that in that moment all of it disappears. Problems, successes, your my kid's an honor student in elementary school, it all leaves in the moment. And so the path, the secret of happiness is just simply to live in the moment, is to stop holding whatever it is that keeps you from being in the moment.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And isn't that empowering? And isn't that lovely? Because it's not your achievement. And I have this idea running through my head where you said 10% more than what you have. And to me, that just says more. Whatever it is, I want more. I need more, because what I have is not making me happy. So more must make me happy. More. And when you say no, actually, it's on the inside, then I can be happy if I am in Nepal sweeping my dirt porch. And I can be happy if I'm in Manhattan. I can be happy wherever I am, because the happiness comes with me. Like you've been traveling all over the world, and you are in different places, but the one thing that's the same is you took you with you wherever you went, right?
Yeah, my joy and my disappointments, I take them with me. And yes, that the happiness is in the moment, and it's not in the achievements, because the achievements need to be more. I use this phrase, if some is good, then more is better. And that's a fallacy, that we think that because some is good, then more is better. That's my personality type. That's what I need to let go of. And the fact is that if some is good, then some is good, and that's okay. And I'm happy with that. That's the goal.
Recognizing that there is a place called enough, right?
Yeah, enough is what a beautiful word that is, that enough already, that it's not outside, it's not about achievements, it's not about status. And if you look for other people to give you what you're seeking, that's a bottomless pit. That isn't going to work. And you need 20, 30, 40, 50 years to figure those things out. And people at 24 want to be where they won't get to till they're 44, and they think at 28 it'll be there. And at the 28 now I can get it, because look, I'm 28, and they don't really, they're still opening, they're still got puppy eyes, they're still, eyes are still opening to this. Not about it's not about ego, it's not about accomplishments, it's not about how people see you, it's all about within yourself. It's about letting go of any conditioned ideas, anything that you're holding that isn't serving you. That is the way to what you want. But you can't, it's really hard at young to understand that. There are people that do it, there are people that are born with this wisdom, but they're pretty rare. And and most of us have to go through the slogging, through the ups and downs of having of creating an achievement, and then finding out that that isn't really what it was.
Isn't that crazy? And I speak to a lot of different people of a lot of different ages, and it is true that a lot of times it takes a while or some experiences before you recognize what really matters and what really helps you be fulfilled. And sometimes it is on going through a path that sounds really cool, like other people are going to give you all that pat on the back that you need, and then realizing, but I thought I would be happy when I got there.
Yeah.
And I'm not. So it's that turning. But I don't think it necessarily has to take a certain age. I think some people are smart enough that they can learn from other people's mistakes. For me, I made my own mistakes, but I think that sometimes, it doesn't have to take a super long time. It just has to take, like you said, opening your eyes, that awakening.
Well, it doesn't have to take, but it seems to. And most of the clients, without without boxing them in, the fact is that they don't have, you have I say 25 is the perfect age. And why 25? Because at 21 you don't have the experience. And at 28 you're already a little solidified, so it's a little bit harder to get rid of your stories. And at 28, at 25 you have the experiences, so you can understand, and you're not so malleable that if I say to the 25-year-old client, you need to let go of this, and they kind of say, well, okay, I'm not really that vested in it. Not that they would say it that way, but the reality of it is that I'm not so vested in it, so I'm ready to let go. So you've got a window at 25, 24, 25, 26. But then, and I don't want to box people in, but the fact is 1,000 clients, this is what I've seen, that it at 28 you're already a little solidified, and it's a little harder. And at 32 it's even harder because it's more solidified. And 35 is, I call, the height of arrogance. And it isn't until after, yeah, that at 37 and 38, and then you think, maybe I don't know everything, maybe I need to learn something. And at 35 you don't think that way, man or woman, egotistical or not egotistical. There is an arrogance, there is a need to be right, there's a need to do it my way, there's a need to express myself and find my power. And that later on isn't really the issue. I just want to be. I don't need to be seen. I just want to be. I just want to express. And if people listen, fine. If people don't listen, that's fine too. It's not about the achievement of it. And that's um, mostly over 50. Again, not saying it's any earlier, but there are difficulties with the particular ages. The 40s are very difficult, because I like to say you're the furthest from junior prices and senior citizen prices, and your family needs you the most. It's absolutely exhausting with your family in the 40s. And you're not as young as you were, and the things that you've seen, the things that you thought that it was going to be the perfect guy or the perfect job or the perfect clothes, and it isn't. And you don't, and you've turned 40 and you don't know what it is. but yet you know what it isn't. And so you get a little, you're a little worn down. And in that wearing down, then you get a little bit more humble. And that more humbling, then you say, ooh, I think there's something else. I may be doing it wrong. Look at Sally. Look at how she does it. That seems to work for her better. I'm going to find out what her secret is. Maybe I'll ask her, or whatever. I'm just making this up, but we begin to question things that we didn't question in our 20s and 30s so much.
Isn't that fun? And as you're walking through these different stages of development, and as you said, working with 1,000 clients, you get a chance to be able to see this repetition of patterns of the way that human nature just kind of works. And it seems that we follow a little bit of a, this pattern, this up and down, where a lot of times people say, well, teenagers, when people think that they know everything, and then you get a little bit more humble, and then you think you really know everything. And then maybe you'll get a little bit more humble. And then you really, really, really know that you know everything. But as we go through these cycles of, where am I? Am I feeling humble? Am I feeling teachable? And isn't it lovely that we get more than one chance? That if we didn't just figure it all out when we were 25, we can still figure it out later. And we can still have this beautiful, joyful, fulfilling life.
Yeah, I sit around with the 60s and 70s in India, and we're sitting there thinking we don't know anything. We get to the place where we know we don't know anything, and we're happy with that. We don't need to know anything, that we, if we need to know it, we can read the book, or we can find out. Some young guy will tell us. Somebody young will tell us, but we're happy we don't know anything, and it's a real bliss in that. It's not my wisdom, it's just wisdom. It's just experiences that I've had, and the clients. It wasn't that I went in thinking that 25 is this and 42 is that and 35 is this, but I sat with in India. I had a lot of young clients. I had seekers from all over the world in India for one season there. I had 78 sessions, and these ideas just come. I can't tell you where they come from. I can't say they're coming from me. I don't think they are, but all of a sudden these patterns come, and these ideas come, and then when the next one comes, son of a gun, if it doesn't seem to fit this pattern that sort of became. And then I don't want to go too far into the astrology, but then I found a chart that shows that there are different, at different ages, different patterns happen based on the cycles of, Saturn. Saturn is Jupiter is a 12-year cycle. And so 24 and 36 can relate to Jupiter. So they had a whole bunch of astrological patterns that fit very well in with what I was just saying about these ages, that how you become complete. And they had one at 48, which had to do with the north and south node of the moon, which isn't the important point. But the point is they were talking about there was a sense of completeness. And I say at 50, then you're able to work on your deficiencies. That at late 40s and 50s, that if you're 20 years old and somebody says you need to open your heart, you're going to say, no, I don't. But if you're 50, you're going to say, when you say to someone, you need to open your heart, you're going to say, well, you're the third person that told me this week. Tell me, how do I do that?
Ooh, yes. And there is an element of, how do I do this? Not only what to do, but how to do it. And that
Yeah.
matters.
And the how is not a question that the young people, how do I TikTok maybe, but they seem to know. It's in their genes. They don't have to ask anybody how to do it. They just seem to know. But I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying these are patterns. I don't want to limit anybody to anything, but these are patterns, and I found these patterns to be very freeing. It's not the pattern it's not that you're, don't box me, Indra, don't box me in. You're already boxed. I'm trying to get you out of the box by saying that these patterns are going on, and that takes a maturity. And I do my sessions, I like to say essence to essence, that we're talking about personality, but we're not talking to the personality. And so when I bring up their worst patterns, they don't feel a judgmentalness. They realize that it's happening. It's not something that they're unaware of. generally, but I can put it into a way that this is why it's happening, and this is and this is what it would look like on the other side when you are able to let go of that. And then I give them tools for how to do that, and there's no judgment in it, and there's no shame in it, because there's no shame in it because we all are doing this. We're just passing along the wisdom that came to us, that it isn't our wisdom. And this goes back to something you said at the beginning, I believe, that I wanted to comment on, is that we teach what we need to learn.
Isn't that
And
interesting?
it isn't that we teach that what we've learned, it's that we teach what we need to learn, because if we didn't need to learn it, then we wouldn't be so interested in teaching it.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. And that's where our interests lie, is a lot of times where our needs are, where what we see a deficiency and a hole
Yes.
to fill, perhaps.
And that we can intuitionally find a right modality or find a right teacher without really thinking about it, that we get drawn to it, and the one that isn't right, we're not attracted to. And just like the mate, you can pick the wrong mate because you need a lesson to learn, and you're gonna, until you learn the lesson, you're gonna keep making the same mistake. But once you've learned that lesson, then that mate isn't attractive anymore, and then the one who can, the one who that you can serve each other appears, and then you're ready to see that you weren't ready before, because you were thinking, because you were going from your mind, not from your gut, and thinking that this is what attracts me because I don't have it. And the fact is that you don't have it because you're ready for it, and it comes to you when you're ready for it.
Isn't that interesting? So sometimes it's absolutely okay to take more than one try. And we can also, I think, go through that process with the same person and think, oh, here we are. And here are the things that I find annoying about you. And here's the things. And then realizing, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I needed that. That was just the thing to help me, balance out. So
So actually what you find out is it's not actually about them, it's actually about me. And it's the thing that I need to learn.
ooh, that is a true story. And that is humbling and
that
empowering.
I'm labeling it them, but it's actually about me, that I'm the one that has a little bit of resistance to those ideas and to doing things that way. I'm the one that's picky. It's not about that people are insensitive to picky, it's that I'm actually insensitive to how picky I am and what the pickiness is really about. It's not really about a clean kitchen, it's about having control.
Yeah, looking a little deeper. That's fantastic. Well, do you have anything you want to just add final before we wrap things up?
Love yourself. You talked about you bring up the secret of life, and somebody ended their podcast recently with me about saying, well, what's the secret of life? So I had to give this story, so I'm going to give this story to you too. So this, I don't know, maybe I heard this, or maybe I even made it up, I don't know. Anyways, it's a joke. And so the joke is that God says to Mrs. God, where should I hide the secret of life? And Mrs. God, in her wisdom, says to God, put it in their heart. They'll never find it there.
Oh,
It's,
wow.
and so the secret of heart the secret of life is to open your heart, is to be open, uh, is to let go of your attitudes and let go of your resistances, and don't judge you or anything else or anybody else. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know the purpose, the deeper purpose that it serves. That in coming back from India one year with hepatitis A, and after being gone 7 months, I was home less than 24 hours, and I went down with hepatitis A. There's no drugs you can take. You only have to just, like mono, sit there and heal. And I was given the teaching that I still needed to surrender. And what a blessing it was to have my health taken away, to not be able to do anything. And that it was a teaching of love toward me, that I'm willing for you to be sick, from divinity, that I'm willing for you to be sick because because you need to learn this lesson, because this is an important lesson for you, is to surrender everything.
Wow. I'm going to be chewing on that one for a while. That is beautiful. And to be able to recognize the blessings that came through your sickness, and that it was okay, and that there was something really good that came out of it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for visiting with me today and sharing your fun stories.
I'm very happy to be with you, Linda. Thanks for being willing to have me on, and yeah, much love and light to you,
It's been a
and to
pleasure.
all of the people in your audience, all your listeners.
Yes, thank you. In closing, I like to share a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "To other countries, I may go as a tourist, but to India, I come as a pilgrim." Wherever your travels may take you, I invite you to seek happiness in your journey through life. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of Linda's Corner, please share and subscribe to help us reach new listeners. I also invite you to check out my nonprofit, Hope for Healing, at the website hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free ebooks, free audiobooks, and other free resources to help increase happiness, build confidence and self-esteem, strengthen relationships, manage stress, and calm feelings of depression and anxiety. I also invite you to grab a copy of one of my books, like Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, or Amazon bestseller, You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. See you next time on Linda's Corner.